Hey, it's Peter with RL Property Management. Hey, I want to share some really exciting results that we recently found as we completed our analysis of leases that ended in 2018. So each year we do an analysis and we take a look at all the leases that ended in the previous year. And what we're trying to find are what are the patterns and correlations that cause someone not only to move out of a property, but when they do move out, what we're looking for is, did they leave the property in good condition, and did they leave owing the property owner any money? In other words, if they were evicted, why were they evicted? And if they moved out early, why did they do so? The purpose of that is to try to figure out if we can learn what might predict those behaviors in order to prevent moving folks like that into our customers' properties in the first place. And so over the years, we've been analyzing this data and we've been improving our tenant screening practices based on what we've learned. So I'm really excited to share what we found as we analyzed the leases that ended in 2018. And we can compare that to previous years and see if we're doing a better job of screening tenants or if we're doing a worse job. So the first thing I want to share with you is that we found that residents who moved into our properties and were screened by us and moved out in 2018, what we found is that 86% of those residents received at least some of their security deposit back. And if you compare that to the 2017 numbers, what you'll see is that in 2017, only 60% of residents that we screened and placed got at least some of their security deposit back. So a dramatic improvement from 60% to 86%. And the reason we use this metric of got at least some of their security deposit back is because that's a really good indicator that they were a good tenant. You know, if they moved out and there was maybe a little bit of damage, but they didn't owe any rent, they didn't owe any water bills, what we're able to do is use their security deposit to cover that little bit of damage, and then they get the rest of the security deposit back. If they don't get any security deposit back, what that means is that they were probably a bad tenant. It means they ended owing more money, either in damages or rent or utilities, than could be covered by the security deposit. So what we want is we want all of our tenants who move out to be receiving at least some of their security deposit back, because that means you as the property owner are going to be better off. So as a result of improvements that we made in our tenant screening process over the years, we've increased the number of residents who are getting at least some of their deposit back from 60% to 86%. Now bear in mind, a lot of these residents who moved out in 2018, they may have moved in many years ago. And so there's a little bit of a lag time in, as we improve our screening process, when do we actually start to see results. So we'll kind of keep an eye on that as we go into 2019, because we made a lot of improvements in 2018 in our screening process, and I don't think those are showing in these numbers just yet. So the other thing I wanted to share from our findings is that the average lease length has also increased. And what do I mean by lease length? Well, what I mean by that is if you subtract, hey, when did the tenant move in? And then you look at when they moved out, how many days were they actually in the property? That's a really important metric, because the longer we can keep tenants in the property, the better the property owner is going to do in terms of their return on investment. Because every time a tenant moves out, we then have to go in, we have to turn over the property, we have to pay for utilities while it's vacant, we have to go and find a new tenant. There's a lot of expenses associated with it, plus you're not making money while the property's vacant. So if we can reduce turnover, that's going to make you as the property owner more money. And the best way to do that is to increase the average stay or occupancy length of a resident who's in your property. So what do we find? Well, in 2017, for all the leases that ended in 2017, the average stay for a tenant who moved out in that year was 474 days. So, over a year, close to a year and a half. And that's decent. I would say that's probably about industry average. In 2018, we ran the same numbers for every lease that ended in 2018, which there was about 45 of them. We found the average stay length had increased to 540 days. So 474 days versus 540 days. So really significant improvement there. That is it could be a tangible result for a property owner who was interested in reducing turnover at their rental property. So really exciting stuff. I always look forward to analyzing these numbers at the end of the year. It's just one of the ways that we're constantly looking for ways to improve results for our property owners. Let me know if you have any questions, and if you have any similar data you'd like to discuss, I'd love to hear it. Thanks.